And then if you will join me, we will pray for tonight. Father, thank you for carving out this time for us. And thank you that your Holy Spirit is really in charge here. I just ask that we do what you have called us here to do tonight, and that we meet the needs of the students that you've brought here tonight. As always, I ask for your protection for us and for our families. I just, again, want to always thank you for your grace and your love that allows us to continue growing and that lets us be a part of this wonderful, wonderful field. So we pray together in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right. Good to see everybody. You are all new to me. So some of you may know each other. I did check and apparently you're not all in the same cohort. So we are going to take just a few minutes here and let everybody introduce themselves. You should have gotten my bio. I'm happy to answer any questions. I've been in this field for a little over 30 years. And I've done just about everything that there is to do, which is one of the wonderful things about the counseling field, is that it's flexible and you're able to transition during different stages of your life and do a multitude of things. So I'm excited still about being a part of this field, and have at this point no plans for stopping as long as God gives me mental faculties and I can stay present with students or with clients. That's the other great thing about counseling is there doesn't have to be a stopping point. There certainly can be. You certainly can decide to retire at a certain point, and that's fine. That's okay. But if you choose not to, there's always something exciting to do. So I'm in Indianapolis. One of the Midwest people. And I know a lot of you are on the West Coast. So it's 9 o'clock my time. And as my younger daughter is prone to saying, it's past my bedtime. Not really, but Tuesday and Thursday nights get really late for me. Thursday nights I supervise practicum, and that's exciting to do. Probably a lot of you are getting ready to do your practicums. So that's a big, exciting step. So for time, I'm going to have to ask you to kind of keep your introduction to about a minute or so. Tell us where you're from and why you're in this program, why you're here. Okay? And that'll give us a little bit of background, and we'll learn more about each other as we go along, hopefully. So I'm gonna just start up in my left-hand corner here, if that's okay. Usually I let people volunteer, but again, for time's sake tonight, I'm gonna ask Michelle, would you be willing to start? Thank you.
Sure. I'm Michelle Gorka. I am in Southern California. I've been in the program now 2 years, I believe, and getting ready to start practicum in January. The way I got into this is actually I was a part of our church. They have a division. We have a care pastor, and they have basically lay counseling that I did a year of training on, and I had been doing that for over 10 years and realized how much I really, really loved working. And so it was actually my care pastor, who was a licensed social worker, said, hey, when are you going to go to school? And I'm like, I'm too old to go to school. In grad school, are you kidding? And COVID hit, and I went, okay, Lord, this is the time. So here
Yeah,
I am.
we don't let you use too old as an excuse around here. I guess you found that out. So,
The
thanks,
thought of
Michelle.
tests and papers and grad school just scared the living life out of me.
I imagine that would, yes, certainly be true. Yeah. Going back into anything like this is intimidating, to say the least. So, but if you're in year 2, you've settled in pretty well. You've learned some things along the way and put them to work. So, I'm a fan of lay counselors. One of my first jobs was working with and training lay counselors. So very much a fan of the church stepping in and facilitating people as long as they're trained. Thank you. Bernadette.
Hey, so I'm Bernadette, and I am now in Georgia and from Georgia, just newly here from California, 7 weeks. I got into this. It's something I've wanted to do for a very long time, and I'm on the upper end of the age range also. So I was always like, it's too, I don't want to go. But they're like, you're going to get old anyway. Might as well get your master's. Okay. So, kind of fell into it that way, just prior life doing HR, everybody's always talking to you anyway. And it was just something I loved, and then got into life coaching through church and found this program, and it's been great. So, this is the second year with Michelle's in my original cohort with a couple other folks in the group too. So
Excellent.
it's awesome, but it's
I
good to see
think the
everybody.
oldest person we've had come through the program was 74.
Okay, I'm not that old, so.
So yeah. That's what I said. We don't let
Yeah.
people say I'm too old.
Yeah, and it is past my
calling
bedtime
you to
too,
do
so.
it. It's past your bedtime too.
It is past my bedtime, like right now. So anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you. Rachel.
Hello, I'm Rachel. I live in New Orleans, and I got into counseling. Well, I was in personal therapy for years, and it was very transformative for me. And so I decided to give it a shot, and I applied to several different programs, and I really liked what the Townsend Institute had to say about counseling and the kind of how empowering it can be and how transformative it can be. And they used words that I liked, like healing, and surprisingly, there's not a lot of programs that use those type of words. I feel like there's a lot of pathology in other programs, and so anyway, I really liked it, and so that's why I'm here.
Excellent, great. I'm a little prejudiced, but I think we have I think we have evidence that supports that we have one of the best programs, one of the best counselor training programs, bar none, secular or Christian or whatever. Our students are highly trained. They're skillful. Practicum and internship sites love our students. So the hard work that you guys are putting in, it's going to show up. And people are going to see it. Right now you've kind of been in this bubble where your professors see it and your peers see it. But other people are going to see it when you go out there, and you're going to find that you are better equipped than many people who come out of master's programs. Jarrett.
Hello, my name is Jarrett Thompson. I'm here in the Willamette Valley, Springfield, Oregon. I got into counseling. I am one of the 50% of teachers who don't make it 5 years teaching. I realized that I wanted to help my students, and I didn't have the time or the training to do that in the way I wanted to. And so I found the Townsend Institute as a place that can give me the training to start down that road.
Great, great. That's how I got transitioned into mental health counseling, Jarrett. I was teaching high school English. And I really thought they would drag me out of the classroom with the kicking and screaming with the kids saying, is that old bat never gonna retire? But I got into counselor education program here at Indiana University, and it just became increasingly evident that was the direction that I was supposed to go. So, unfortunately, after I graduated, Cloud and Townsend started writing books prolifically. So I got a lot of support from them and from so many other mentors in the Christian counseling field. We have a rich history of people in the Christian counseling field who are highly respected in the secular field as well. So, Mike, tell us about you.
Hi, Mike Jonitis. I live in Los Angeles, California. I've been a pastor for the last 15 years, and I think I reached a point where I realized I can't help people the way I want to. Seen just heard a lot of stories, seen a lot of people, sat with a lot of people who have been through a lot of spiritual abuse, and I want to actually be able to help that rather than just throwing scriptures at them. So decided to get the degree and steward my calling in a different way.
Such a big need, Mike. As a pastor, you've seen it firsthand. So good for you for following God's leading. Thank you. Joanne.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joanne Curry. I'm in Georgia now, originally from New York. I also taught, so it's nice to see other teachers here. I taught middle school English for 14 years. And then when we moved to Georgia, I became a stay-at-home mom. And I always had an interest in counseling. So I started the program, I don't know, over a year ago. Maybe everyone was bored during COVID and decided to get a master's. I'm not sure. But I think this is like my 9th class. So I am kind of taking a slower pace. So I'm still far out from practicum.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You do it at your speed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Don't let anybody pressure you to doing what you don't feel like you can do.
Thanks.
Anna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Sealander, and I live in Southern California and in Costa Mesa. I think I was drawn to counseling almost 2 decades ago. We lost a family member, and there was actually a very beautiful takeaway from it, noting the relational connection that you can establish, since death is the common denominator, the grief, everybody can kind of share that understanding. And it's something that always stuck with me. So when searching for schools, it is a late in life. I understand Michelle's story. I'll be walking with that degree at 50, but much like Rachel mentioned, going to the Townsend Institute, I really appreciated, specifically, I wanted to do therapy, but I did not like the direction of marriage and family therapists or that type of thing. I really appreciated the strengths-based, the forward thinking and the relational narrative that's in how counseling is expressed a little differently than those. And so I knew I wanted to be a mental health counselor and not an actual marriage and family therapist. So here I am.
Very good. Very good. Erica.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erica. I live in Southern California. This is my second year, so I'll be starting my practicum in January as well. I think for me, the thing that kind of got me into this is the pandemic, of course, but I run a wellness center at a college for adults with disabilities, and I kind of noticed that they weren't being served on the mental health side. It was like their disability was the thing that was getting addressed, and a lot of them also struggle with mental health like everybody else in the world, and it needed a focus. So I decided to join and learn.
Good for you. So you've got pretty much identified your population.
Yes, I already know what I want to do and where I'm going to do it. Just need the
Okay.
degree.
All right, Dan.
Hey there, my name's Dan Taylor. I'm in Columbia, Maryland, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, right on that I-95 corridor. I am coming out of, I retired in June from 28 years of pastoral ministry. And it was just that the more counseling I did, the more I wanted to do it, and have decided to take the professional leap to do it. So I've gone from part-time school at Concordia to now full-time. Practicum in January as well. So I'm excited about finishing my career doing counseling full time.
Excellent. Greg.
Hi, everyone. My name is Greg Logan. I live in the high desert of Bend, Oregon, but originally from Southern California. And I'm a second-year student starting practicum in January. So excited, but also a little nervous. And what brought me to this field, I went through a couple corporate career stints and finally realized, after joining a men's group about 10 years ago and going on my own healing path, how important it was for me to hold that space as I grew personally, and then just the interest to be able to delicately hold others as they go through big transformations of their own. So I'm super excited that, at 46, I'm diving into a new career that's going to give me a lifetime of learning and support.
And all of you, you bring such a wealth of experience to the table. Yes, you're learning new skills and new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking, new perspectives. But don't underestimate or underwrite the life experiences that you bring that will be a vital part of your professional life and your professional practice. So thank you, Greg. Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma Lucas. I live in Riverside, California, and I'm in the program because I took an early interest in psychology. I've always kind of known I wanted to do something to help people in my career, but didn't have a clear idea of what that looked like. But then the pandemic happened and I had lots of time to sit and think and do a little research, and I eventually found my way to this program.
Wonderful. Well, we're glad you did.
Thank you.
We're not glad for the pandemic, but we are glad for the people who took a look at their lives and decided to go a new direction. So, Juliana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jules.
Jules.
I live
Okay.
Yes. It doesn't matter.
Well, tell me what you guys prefer to be called, so I'm not calling you something that you're.
Okay. I live in Orange County, California. I'm starting my second year in this program, and I got into this program. One of my professors at Concordia, I did my undergrad there as well. He recommended this program, so I'm glad I did it. I'm having a pretty good time so far. So.
Great. Good. Always good to hear that. And the students that I've had in class who've done undergrad at any of the Concordia sites have gone on and on and on and on about how good their education was. at Concordia as an undergrad. So hopefully we're continuing that that pattern. So thank you, Dana.
Hi, I'm Dana. I live in Huntington Beach, California. So I'm in SoCal with a lot of you. Mary, I'm sure you don't remember, but when I started the program at the original kickoff, you were one of my group
One of your group leaders.
Yes. Yeah. So you're a familiar face to me.
Okay, it's okay for you to tell that, and then I can acknowledge that I don't typically tell people, oh, you were in the
Yeah.
preface group.
Oh, I remember you, right?
Yeah.
Oh, but
Oh, it's good to
let's see.
you now.
So yes, I am an older student as well. So I think when I think about what's brought me here, I mean, you know, in my 51 years, there are many things that have happened along the way that have ultimately led me here. But I think no matter what, whether it's raising my now adult children, or I was a realtor for many, many years, and now I teach special education, when I look back at kind of where my strengths are or where my skills tend to be used, I feel like I've already performed more counseling hours probably than anything else. So I'm looking forward to at some point, you know, being able to transition where counseling is my primary way of serving.
Thank you. Hallie or Haley?
Yeah, it's Haley.
Haley?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's spelled weird. Hi,
okay.
everybody. Yeah, so I'm Haley. I'm in Southern California in Fullerton. I start practicum in January. So like everybody else who's starting, anxious, nervous, excited. I got drawn to this program. I guess counseling is always something that I wanted to do and focus on mental health. In past positions, I've done a lot of case management, but like you barely scratch the surface and you're not completely prepared to help people the way that you want to. And in my current position, I actually work with Erica at a wellness center at our college. And she actually pushed me to start the program. So that's, yeah, that was my final push to get me here. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, a good push. And Emily.
Hi, I hope I don't freeze. My internet sometimes gets wacky, but I'm in Hood River, Oregon, and Mary, actually, I was part of Dana's group when we first started. I processed some mom stuff at the time. Anyways, I got into the program. My husband was a couple of years ahead of me, actually. Here. And we were pastors. I was a pastor for about 20 years. And 10 of those years was in recovery ministry. I just continued to do work in my own story and kept kind of hitting the ceiling of tools that I had for support and then the tools that others. So a big piece of that was I attended one of the growth skills, John and Henry's programs, and that attending the process groups there was probably one of the most transformative times for me, where it was like I could grab hold of, this is kind of the stuff I've been looking for. It really added to some of my recovery work, and so I just kind of, you know, watched my husband sort of go through the program, and we had some hard church transitions, and just kind of began to follow the path and jumped in. I didn't really think I'd get accepted into the program, dealing with my own past and my, you know, academic experience. And so it was just a really good step-by-step process for me. And I definitely feel a good transition professionally at 44 and loving just working with trauma and sort of different things like that. But it's definitely been something I've loved, and I love the program. So
great. Thank you all. Question always comes up, what do I want to be called? You can call me Mary, you can call me Professor Adams, you can call me Professor Mary. I do not have an earned doctorate. And so I do not claim, even though they put it on the sheets and the information sheets and things, I don't claim a doctorate because that's hard work, and people who get their doctorates deserve the accolades that go along with that. So I've just chosen not to get a doctorate as I've moved through the field. If I were starting over again, I would get my doctorate. But at my age, you all have told your age, so I will tell you that I am 71. And at my age, starting a doctoral program with everything else that goes on in my life, it's just we've prayed about it, we've wrestled with it, and we just can't justify it at this point. Now, if God ever says something different, I'll hit the books again and do the dissertation and do what he calls me to do. But at this point, he hasn't. So you, Mary, Professor Adam, Professor Mary, I'm totally. I'll even answer to hey you. It's a little disrespectful, and I'll probably call you on it, but I will answer to it. So. But students always ask that. So I kind of like to get that out of the way. And just kind of clear the boards and let you know what your options are. So, all right. The rest of our agenda tonight is to talk a little bit about the syllabus and the assignments. And then I want us to break up into some groups and do some discussions from kind of centering around the first couple of chapters that you've read in your book. Just before we came online, I went back and I had posted in my professor's overview it's a lengthy, it's a little over an hour. But it's also a pretty good overview of the history of the counseling profession. And so that is there. It's totally optional for you. I will put extra resources in my professor's overview box. That's kind of where I'll post extra things that I think you might be interested in this. If you are, that's great. If you're not, give it a pass. That's okay too. And I'm always happy to discuss anything that's posted that you see. So tonight, I want us to focus on just a couple of things when we go into our discussion. And one is that whole idea of professional identity and what it actually means to be a counselor, to be a therapist. And then while we're not delving deeply into boundaries yet, I always think it's a good idea for us to touch on those just a little bit, especially in terms of self-care. A number of you are getting ready to start practicum. If you'd been in class with me in other classes, you would have heard me harp at you about start your self-care now. Don't wait until you're out in the field. So our boundaries are one of the things that really protect our self-care so that we can last in the field. Jarrett, you were talking about teachers who who last about 5 years. The same is true of therapists. If they don't get really good self-care and get a good network group around them and get a really solid base, usually 2 to 5 years and they burn out. So self-care is extremely important. We deal with people in life altering situations, in tragic situations, and we sit with them hour after hour after hour we have to do things that help take care of ourselves. Otherwise, we vicariously take on those loads and we are no longer any use to them or to ourselves. So I will harp on self-care as we go through. But the boundaries that we set are a big part of our self-care, and understanding why we set those boundaries. That when I say to a client at the end of a 60-minute session, or when I say like 50 minutes in, okay, we've got about 5 minutes left. What do we need to talk about before we transition you out and you go back to work or wherever they're going? And what do we need to table to talk about next week? And a lot of times, I know you've probably heard this if you've been in the program for almost 2 years or over 2 years. A lot of times clients will dump what is the most significant thing for them right before it's time for you to end your session. And there is a real temptation for us to say, oh, they're just getting into it. I need to not stop it now. But if you do that, one of the things that they learn is you can't be trusted. No. So setting those kinds of boundaries is a big part of trust. And I don't want to get sidetracked on that tonight because we're going to talk about those a lot as we go along. So let's skip back to syllabus. You should have gotten a copy of the syllabus. I typically do not go through the syllabus section by section because you're adults and you can read and you can ask questions if you need to ask questions. So where I would start, excuse me, where I would start is, does anybody have questions about the syllabus starting off? A lot of this is boilerplate. I know you've seen it before. Let me take a stop here and say, you have all of my contact information. You have an email, you have my cell phone number, and you are more than welcome to contact me. If we need to set up an individual time to meet, I will make that happen. I am looking at, I typically will set up some office hours once we get going. And so I'm looking at when a good time to do that might be. Obviously for me, morning or afternoon, Eastern Daylight Time is better. But that for you California people is probably not going to be optimum. So probably what I'll do is set up a couple of potential office hour times, and always know that if you need to contact me and we need to meet another time, I will make that happen. I do have a private practice. I see clients on Mondays and Thursdays. So typically I am locked in from 8 in the morning until 5 in the evening. I do take a lunch break. That's self-care. But usually it's after I get home on Monday or Thursday night that I check emails on those 2 nights. Other Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, I check during the daytime. Typically Sunday is a Sabbath for us. And that doesn't mean that you can't reach me, but if you need to reach me about something on a Sunday, I would really suggest that you text me. I do keep my phone on, but I typically do not check email on Sunday. That's a Sabbath day for us. Obviously, Tuesday nights are going to be our meeting nights, 1st, 3rd, and 5th tonight. And Dr. Townsend's town hall is scheduled for Tuesday, September 20th we haven't gotten information yet about who will be featured at the town hall, but that's always somebody good. So we have wonderful, wonderful resources. All of the assignments in your shell are designed to meet K-CREP requirements. More and more states are requiring that you attend a K-CREP accredited school if you want to be licensed. That's no problem for you guys because we have our K-CREP accreditation. We will talk about a number of ways that counselors can be used. You've all done discussion boards before and papers, so you know that they have to be in APA format. If you aren't able to attend the virtual classroom, we do ask that you let me know ahead of time about that. And then you will need to watch the recording. I try to get the recording up no later than the next day. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but knowing that you've got a deadline of Sunday night or Friday night to do discussion posts and then to respond, I really try to get the recording up the next day. This should be the grading scale should be familiar to you because it's the one we use in all of our courses. These should all be we do is ask that work be turned in on time or there will be points off. But I do ask that if some extenuating circumstance comes up, and unfortunately, it's an extenuating circumstance. It's not, I really felt overloaded this week because learning to balance things is part of what we have to do. But I would rather you talk to me and we'll work something out. I will always work with you and work something out. This is all technology stuff. Wellness center. All right. You have each week's assignments and what's required and the number of points in this assignment form. So what I really suggest is that you make yourself a grid and put like learning activity 1, learning activity 2, learning activity 3, do, and check it off so that you know that you've gotten them in. This week you're looking at what is a counselor, and kind of how that definition has evolved. This is probably the big thing we need to talk about this week, and that is the Community Needs Project. So let me go back to Blackboard and stop this share. It is. Oh, maybe I won't. Hang on. There we go. As counselors, one of the things that we want to learn early on or to focus on early on is that what we do is not confined to meeting with clients in our office hour after hour. We're a part of a bigger picture. And we influence, particularly in the cultural climate that we're living in today. We are needing to influence mental health services in a very powerful, positive way. And one of the ways that we do that is by learning about the community that we serve. And it might be the community around your church, it might be the community in your neighborhood, it might be the community around your workplace. It might be all three, but that sounds a little intimidating even to me. But becoming familiar with the stories of the people, the narratives of the people, and their cultural narratives, and what they need in some very practical ways, not just in terms of mental health interventions, but in terms of, are they able to, do they have access to medication? Do they have access to psychiatric care and evaluation? And even beyond that, some case management stuff at times of are they able to eat? Do they have some place to live? Are they able to work? How are they doing financially? Because people can't focus, and I know that you've heard this over and over again, as professors have talked with you about Maslow and other individuals, that people can't focus on those higher level skills like attachment and integration, or separation and integration in adulthood. They can't focus on those kinds of core skills, core character skills, if their basic human needs are not being met. Because all they're going to be concerned about is basic human needs. So this community needs project is, it's not busy work. We want it to be a very real thing that you are doing. Choosing a community that you will explore and get to know, and that you will come up with some proposals about how as professionals we might intervene in that particular community. And it might be that even you would take part in starting some of those things. For just as a kind of a suggestion, we have a lot of parents in our area who are dealing with kids who have either been diagnosed or show symptoms but have not been diagnosed as attention deficit. So one of the things that my counseling partner and I do is we do free workshops for parents periodically to help them understand the broadness, the broad concept of that spectrum, and that one size doesn't fit all with attention deficit. And we try to give them some tools to help them And we can make referrals if they would like to get into counseling with somebody. We can certainly make referrals for that. But that might be doing something like that, and then establishing some kind of education program might be something that you might do, or a support group that you would say, okay, we would do this. So that community needs project, that's your big deal for this semester, and it's gonna be broken up into parts, into sections for you to work on. But this first week, we want you to identify, first of all, you're going to need to read Gehrig's chapter 12 and pull what is helpful for you out of that. And then you have a link to the assignment overview. So you're going to want to pull that up and maybe even print it out and make it a part of your process. Then we want you to identify a target community or a target area that you think you will explore. And so for this particular project, the needs do need to center around mental health. So it could be access to mental health in your community. Like I said, access to medication. What are the mental health needs of the community that you're focusing on? Are there a lot of single parent families? Are there a lot of grandparents raising grandchildren? Are there a significant number of geriatric individuals? And what are some of the primary needs that they have? You're gonna want to eventually look at what resources already exist. There's no sense reinventing the wheel. And how would you work alongside those resources? Then you're going to start looking for literature. And remember, when we say literature, we're talking about peer-reviewed articles, books that pertain to the topic or the population. And you're going to start putting together an outline. So this week, your proposal is due. And it says 1 page, but you may need a couple of pages. So please don't be concerned about length on this one. I'm not going to take off if you need more than 1 page to talk about your project. You can fill up a page pretty quickly with information about your project. Remember, again, APA formatting. And then for week 3, you're going to do an outline based on your proposal. So I don't want to make this sound intimidating, because it's not meant to be. It's meant to be fun and challenging and interesting. And you know, one of the things that I really like about our core teams is that they've been working really hard to not put busy work in the assignments that we give students, that every assignment has some connection to what you'll be doing out in the field as a professional. And so it's something to add to your toolbox. This is certainly, I can't think of any time, maybe when we were lobbying for licensure, but other than that, I can't think of any time when it has been more critical for mental health professionals to be involved in community, in what's happening in their communities, and to have a voice. I've rambled on and on and on and on about that, but hopefully giving you some information. Do you have questions about this particular assignment? Well, you have questions about anything, but this particular assignment.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mike.
The sorry, the embedded the embedded link there that pulls up the overview of the entire project. Under project overview, it says the final product is a comprehensive 6 to 8 page paper, and then the project stages, it says it's an 8 to 10 page paper.
It's
Can
8
you
to
just
10.
clarify that?
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
8 to 10.
Thank you.
That apparently did not get changed. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out, and I will let the other members of the team know that although their students may be pointing it out to them tonight as well. Okay, mine says 8 to 10. My link says 8 to 10. Yours
Okay,
says something different?
It says both. It says 6 to 8 at the top. And then their
Oh,
project stages, it says 8 to 10. So there's both of them.
oh, okay. Okay. Now I'm with you. Okay. I will change that in your link in your section because I do have the power to do it. And I will also let the rest of the team know that that's different. Anytime you find a discrepancy like that, please let me know. Because as many eyes as are on this, sometimes we just don't catch everything. So if you catch a discrepancy like that, it's not going to hurt anybody's feelings, and nobody's going to get mad, and nobody's going to get defensive, or at least I hope nobody is. If you let us know, you know, you're after we've spent time on it, you're our eyes on it. And you're the ones who are having to work those projects or those assignments out. So please let us know. Thank you, Mike. Any other questions about assignment, the syllabus?
I had a question also about this week
Okay,
assignment.
Michelle.
If
Okay.
that's okay.
Absolutely.
On you mentioned about the 1 page, the other part of it on the LA2, can you explain a little bit more or expound a little bit more about that, especially when it comes to, let's see, the difference between or what you're looking for in part B and part C. So basically the understanding of what it means to be a professional counselor. Is that, and the aspects of the professional identity, is that from a perspective of what we gain from the reading and what
I'd like for it to be both. I'd like for it to be, I'd like for it to be what you gained from the reading, but I don't really just want you parroting the reading, and that sounds bad because you're not parroting the reading, you're responding to what was asked.
Right.
But I would also like to have your thoughts and your input.
Okay.
In that, and you know, and if there's something that you see that you think this just doesn't gel right with me, then let me hear about it. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. You know, if there's something that rings particularly true to you, identify that as something that you can incorporate into your own professional identity.
Okay, and that kind of sprinkles into that C question then, where it says to explain the areas of mental health counseling as well and the value of the professional counselor. Is that kind of our insight in what we're gaining from it as well?
Yeah, and really, as you get into the reading, you're gonna see that there are lists of,
Yeah.
in there, they identify specific areas of mental health counseling, school counseling, addictions, you know. And so again, it's getting that into your mind, that these are different areas that are potentials. And there are different areas have different requirements in terms of training, skills, what you actually are doing in those particular areas. So what they've done in this particular question, Michelle, or in this particular part, is they're trying to get you to integrate professional values with different areas of counseling. So for instance, you know, we're going to have some core values that are never going to change. But are there professional values? If I'm a school counselor, are there professional values that I absolutely want to be sure that I have, or that I've included in my professional persona? That perhaps somebody who's working with career redevelopment might not have those same, professional values that they would need to focus on might be very different. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. That's helpful.
All right. Other questions? While we're on that assignment though, let me just reinforce that whenever there is an assignment that says to do something specific to your state, I would suggest that you start a file and you start keeping all of that in, if you haven't already done so, that you start keeping all of that in a file that pertains to the state where you are going to seek licensure. Because it will be so much easier on you in the long run than trying to track all of that down or find all of that out. Once you graduate and you're trying to get licensure. If you watch as you go through the courses, you're being given, you're being told, look this up or see what, know what this is in your state. Don't do it just for the assignment. Keep some kind of file, folder, record, where you're keeping all of that information about your particular state together. And I don't know how long we are going to have the after effects or the continuing effects of COVID and all of its hangers on. But I know here in Indiana, it has really impacted the ability to get in touch with our professional licensing agencies. So to get a response from them. And I've heard from students that that's been true in other states as well. So any information that you can already have at hand for yourself is just going to be to your advantage as you pursue licensure. Okay. All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions, if there are, I will take time and answer them. Questions about the Excuse me, about the syllabus. Or assignments in general. All right, now we're all back together. So, gonna break you into groups in just a little bit, but first of all, let's kind of do a free for all. Just jump in as you want to. Discussion about what do you think counseling is? Specifically mental health counseling. You know, until we started getting licensure laws, just about anybody could hang out a shingle and call themselves a counselor of one kind or another, including mental health. And so while a lot of people fought licensure, it has certainly stabilized our profession in terms of accountability and services that clients receive, and how therapists are equipped to engage with services. One of my horror stories is back when we were all applying for licensure. We had a man who was in our immediate circle that we had challenged him a number of times about the way he worked with people, and about the ethics of the way he worked with people. And at one point he said to us, you know, it really doesn't matter. I can just stick a bunch of stick a bunch of letters behind my name and nobody will ever question them. And that kind of attitude, he was not alone in that before we got licensure. And you know, our primary concern is not to bring harm. And certainly that was happening more frequently than we liked back in the day. So when you think about mental health counseling, this field that you're entering, what defines it for you?
I think about just the delicate work that it is, and really working with you're working with people's core psyche and some of the deeper core issues. And the word intricate just comes to mind of just that, or delicate. I mean, the delicate work of being a guide and caregiver for those that maybe don't even know the intricate things that are going on. But that delicate piece is particular when I think of it for me.
Yeah, good.
I think of healing relationship. It's very simple, I guess, but obviously it's been the focus of a lot of the classes, you know, that therapeutic and empathetic relationship. But I think it was actually one of the most pivotal parts of beginning and being in this program was recognizing how it was the relationship itself and how you foster it that promotes so much.
Yeah.
I think with that too, to add on to Anna's, it's that relationship, but then there's that responsibility behind that as the mental health counselor. I think that.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
You know, I think you have the responsibility. I mean, you're responsible for making sure you care for this person and you guide them correctly and you don't, you know, screw them up more. So it's like, for lack of a better way to put it, but it's kind of scary when you think about it too much, but then I think there's a great base to getting that knowledge here. So, and then just having to take our step, like being responsible to ourselves, even like you said, with self-care and all of that, because if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not being responsible then to your client
Mhm.
also. So
Yeah.
that's
And how you're filling your toolbox, your supervision, relationships and your peer network relationships. So that you aren't, lone rangering it. And so that you're always aware that I don't have to do this all by myself. There, I have a broad, network, um, that walks alongside me as I am working to walk alongside, my clients. Uh, Yeah, good points. Other thoughts?
Yeah, what lands for me is listening by leaning in,
Mm,
and building that therapeutic alliance and empowering the client to
yeah.
make change, knowing that they're supported through that journey.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and it's, particularly when we're starting out, it is so tempting to want to get to the problem solving. But if we do not lay that foundation of that therapeutic relationship with the client and give them the opportunity to test you a couple times and see if you're going to be trustworthy, then they're really not going to be willing to enter into some of those really tough core places with you. And so, we just can't emphasize enough the importance of that therapeutic relationship. I do a lot of trauma work, and I always think of this one particular client that it was more than a year of working with her before she could even sit in the room with me without um, jumping at every sound, um, and giving me any response at all. Anything that I would try to get her to talk about, her response would be, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Well, if you've worked with trauma clients, you know that that's really not unusual. But a big part of that is she didn't know me. She had absolutely no reason to trust me. Just because I know I'm trustworthy doesn't mean my client does. And so building that therapeutic relationship is just, um, if we don't do that, we might as well work at McDonald's. I don't know. But good point, Greg. Other thoughts?
We might be that first person in their life that they feel safe with. I'm reminded of
Absolutely.
the book Safe People was so wonderful as well.
Uh-huh.
But in that therapeutic relationship, which looks differently than obviously a friendship or something, but
Mhm.
building safety for the client within a therapeutic setting
Yeah.
is empowering for them and
Mhm.
powerful to witness
Wow.
and build into them.
Absolutely.
But I've also learned too, we can't want it more than they want it themselves.
That's right.
And trying to help orchestrate that a little bit.
Yeah. And that's where we assess their resiliency. What are they able to, what are they able to, how are they able to stay in the presence of reality? And their self-awareness. We're listening for self-awareness as they're responding or as they're telling us their narrative, to see, okay, are you really um, are you really aware of what's going on? Or are you living in a world that has served you, but is not not reality. So that's all woven in there. So
Yeah, that attunement, right?
mm-hmm. Yep. And the other thing that I've found to be consistent is that there is almost always an element of shame. That deep down, people, and I know this was true of me when I went through my own counseling and healing times. That what we think about inside is, if you really knew what I'm like, you would be repulsed and you would not want to have anything to do with me. And so that's where our self-containment, our emotional containment, and being able to be present with clients when they tell us things that for them are devastating things. How we remain present with them and how we respond is the most critical factor in whether or not they will dive deep into some of those areas like fear and shame. And those are pretty much universally going to be there. So I think about teenagers, about adolescents, and if you want an adolescent to talk to you, you don't ask them questions. You take them for a Starbucks. Or you do something where they don't have to look you in the eye. We have this big thing about look me in the eye when you're talking to me. Well, for a child or for an adolescent, that's shamefaced. And so they need to be able to tell you whatever they want to tell you, and then they will gauge your response to see how you respond. And if you overreact, then they'll clam up and you won't get any more from them. So and a lot of times you get it just in bits and pieces, but our clients are like that. You need to remember that a lot of times our clients, emotionally, they're toddlers, or they're middle schoolers. Somebody said that they taught middle school. So you know the dynamics of that. And so we have to keep that in mind as we're engaging with them, that yes, there's this adult body that's sitting in front of me, but emotionally, where are they? And how do I need to approach them? So, other thoughts? Okay, I want to break you up into groups. Put my glasses back on here so I can read. And because a number of you are preparing for your practicum, I had three scenarios to play around with tonight. Because you're getting ready to launch on your practicum, we're going to do this one. I think your book approaches this in terms of, suppose that you're in your first job and and you have a client and the client is questioning your competency. What I want you to discuss in your groups is you're going to be students. Most of your clients or your students are going to know that you're still in training, that you're students. So I want you to come up with some strategies. I want you to think about how can you respond to clients who question your authority. This is a place where some of us who have a little age on us, people are not going to be saying, well, you're young enough to be my daughter, or you're young enough to be my granddaughter or whatever. And so age may not be as big of a factor. But how will you respond, or how can you respond to someone who is, to a client who comes in and says, well, you're just a student. What can you tell me? You know, what do you know about, kids acting out? What do you know about, getting fired from my job? You know, when that challenge comes, how can you respond? We're going to take about 10 minutes. I'm going to break you into 5 groups. And then we'll come back and then we'll just debrief a little bit, because we're going to be pretty close out of time. And I want to try to honor your time. So you're going into your rooms. Here we go, beaming you up. There we go. Everybody back in? Very good. Okay, so again, brainstorming, just jump in. What are some responses that we can have to people who are saying, you know, how are you qualified to counsel me? What to come up with?
We talked about like figuring out the question, like what's the real question behind that? You know,
Good
what are
idea.
they really trying to say?
Uh-huh.
And are they looking for somebody they can trust? And Emily brought up like if they've been experienced as like too much for other people, how we can be, if we can contain that and you know, not let them feel like they're too much for us, then we're, you know, creating that mismatching experiences for them to feel safe.
That's good. That's good.
We kind of discussed the trying to maintain the awareness of not making it a defensive discussion, but much like Mike said, trying to figure out where it's coming from, because it's not about us.
Right. And being
It's not about
present
us.
with them. Yeah, and inviting them to tell their story.
Right. And we also discussed the concept of, you know, no one, whether or not they are licensed, knows you. It's our opportunity to know you.
Wonderful response. Wonderful response. Yeah. Yeah. This is my opportunity to hear your story from you. Yeah. Other thoughts y'all have?
We talked a little bit kind of along those same lines of disarming them in that and reshaping the question or asking, what would you most like to get out of our time together?
Exactly. Great.
Shift it to them. What are you looking forward to getting out of our time together?
Yeah. All good responses and good potential responses. And if you've thought about it before you actually get in the situation, there's less likelihood that you're going to sit there and think, what am I supposed to say now? You know, or I really am a student. What? and you wind up then being defensive or trying to defend yourself. And these are all great responses. Any others? Juliana? Jules?
We talked about, you know, just falling back on our education kind of thing. And I gave an example. I work at a high school right now, and everyone thinks I'm a student there. So sometimes when students ask me, you know, how do you know that, Jules? Or where did you learn that from? I just, you know, I mentioned, oh, I'm getting my master's in this program. I graduated from Concordia. You know, I just go back to that and they're like, okay, yeah.
Give it a context. Yeah. Emily.
I was just thinking of even kind of directly, gently addressing the trust piece of acknowledging and validating, like, yeah, that question seems like it's just coming from a place of it's hard to trust people. And so it's a natural question to wonder, where do I come from? What kind of credentials do I actually have? And just, acknowledging that.
Yeah, you don't know me. And, you know, that's, I really stress with my potential clients that the first session is really for them to have the freedom to ask any questions that they want to ask. And because I'm in private practice, I have the freedom to, I can make that a consult session. And so they don't pay for that session. And it gives them then it takes some of the pressure off. You know, they can tell me what they want to tell me. They can tell me their story, what they want to tell me of their story. They can ask me any questions that they want to ask me. We get to go over all of those consent to treat pieces and clarify them. And so it's just all part of again, building that rapport and being present with them. No, good thoughts that you came up with. And so kind of tuck them in your toolbox for when you're out doing your practicums. Final questions before we wrap up for the night. Or thoughts. Well, I thank you all for being here. I thank you for participating. Everybody's here, so I will just go in when we close out the room. I'll just go in and give you credit for your virtual classroom. So you don't have to write anything. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to post, I was there. I'll just go in and give you credit for that as we wrap up here tonight. Okay. I will see you in 2 weeks in week 3. But please remember, if you have questions or if there's anything that we need to talk about, please let me know. Oh, got it. Just thought homework partners. I will get the homework partner list out before the end of this week for you. Okay. I don't do that until after the first night because sometimes the roster changes and then I have to redo the whole thing. But I will get that out to you by the end of the week. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much. I hope we're going to have a great time and learn, delve into just a lot of the background of this great profession. So rest well. We've got Labor Day weekend coming up. Hopefully you'll get some R&R time during that weekend. And I will see you all in a couple weeks. Okay. Thank you so much. Night.
Good night. Good night, everyone.